So the other day we started talking about totem poles, and we did a little research online to find out a little bit more about totem poles. This was a sheet that you probably filled out the other day. And as it came down to the end, we talked a little bit about some of the subjects that are on a totem pole. Original ones, you're looking at different types of animals, and there's lots of symbolism in why different tribes maybe use those animals on their totem poles. And we talked a little bit about, what are some things that might represent your family, and if you had a totem pole, what would be on it? It's very similar to some, more European backgrounds where you may have a family crest or something like that. What's on your family crest? What are the symbols? What do they mean? What are the colors? And we talked a little bit about you as an individual or a person, what would be on a totem pole that might represent you as a person. And then when you flip this over, you were able to start doing some designing on here for ideas that might represent you, your family. The other thing you could do is, more of a theme too, that wouldn't necessarily have to be symbolic of you or your family. Since it was Halloween, just the other day, maybe I decide like, oh, I'm gonna put on a pumpkin. I don't even know what a pumpkin, like a jack-o'-lantern I'm thinking of, something. Right, so you could do like a Halloween theme. Maybe it would have like a bat or something. Again, I don't really know what a bat might look like. And then maybe one more thing, something Halloween, maybe like a ghost, goblin of some kind, right? Right, so this would be an example of like a theme. There are many examples of this on Google Classroom, so if you go there, you can check out, I think there's a link for some images of different ones that I had students do in class. If you go back to Google Classroom and you go through the slide presentation that I had for the totem poles, there's examples on that too. So from there, we're gonna get you going on your totem pole. So what you're gonna get is you're gonna get a block of wood that's got a wooden dowel on it. It's already probably into the wood base for you. This is one I've used a few times for examples. You see it's pretty dirty already. Hopefully you'll get one that is brand new and nice and clean. You're gonna get some clay. Take my ring off while I'm working with clay. When you get your clay, you'll want to make sure that you separate it out into like 3 different pieces. And I did that already. I've got a few in there. I'm not going to need a ton. The idea is to start this, you can start with like a basic shape. You start with the biggest form of your object. So if I was going to do this, the biggest form is going to be a sphere. So I would roll this around. Keep going and keep going and keep going. The beginning stages, again, it's just your big form. And then from there, what you're gonna do is you're gonna put this onto your post here. Now, if you were to just push down, it's probably gonna be disformed. So what you might wanna do is put it on and then start to kind of twist it to get it to go on, and it should pop through the top there. Like that. Okay. Now when you're working, you don't want to like cinch this right up next to the pole like that. You want to be able to move your pieces of clay around. It should have some wiggle room. It should be loose. This clay is an air dry clay, and it will dry about 10%. So if you don't give it some wiggle room on the inside, when it starts to dry, it gets smaller and it goes towards the post, and then your sculpture will crack on the outside. And there's really not a good way to fix that once it does that. So you wanna make sure that you get it so it's nice and loose. All right, I'm gonna do the next one. So I was thinking if I did a Halloween theme, maybe I would do a bat. So maybe I would start with like an oval looking thing, maybe a little bit smaller than the first one. You'll notice I'm not doing these perfect. These are, well, it's just an example, but also this is just the starting phase, right? So we don't necessarily need to be doing detail work yet. We don't want that. If this is gonna work. This is pretty thin. There we go. Again, give it some wiggle room, right? Now, if this was going to be my bat, I'd probably want to go in and make some wings, or kind of get the idea of what the wings would be. Now, if I was going to do the wings, I don't want them to be super thin, even though we know wings are pretty thin on bats and stuff. But you could carve this out like with a knife or something, and then you'll attach to this. Now, when you attach something, you want to make sure that you're scoring. It'd be a good idea to add a little bit of water to it, and you do both sides. This is very quick, but right, and then you would add. And pinch them together, smooth them together. Most likely I will come back and I would probably draw in the design that I want for that wing. You know, I'd come back and make it look more like a wing by carving some of this stuff out, but I'm just trying to get it attached just to give you a general idea how this would work. Oh, forgot to score it. It also would be a good idea, if I were going to use this, it would be a good idea to lay these two pieces out and carve one, and then set it on the other and carve the other so that they would be exactly the same. But I just want to show you kind of the basics and how to sculpt something, getting it started. And then this one was on something I had earlier today, so I'll just slide this one on. You know, and then from here, now I can start designing. You'll see here I do have a little bit of that sticking up. I don't really want that. So what I maybe would want to do is either add a piece to the top, whether it's just like a spacer on the top. You know, whoops, I dropped it. So I could put a spacer on the top, something that way, or I could take this one off. I could put a spacer in here. You know, try to make it look nice, but just want to quickly give you a little brief rundown on how this works. So now this would be able to go over the top then. Okay, so this is the basic construction. It's not a lot of detail, but from here I can start to kind of see where I want stuff, and maybe I'm coming in. Remember, I was gonna draw like wings on there, and I can cut this part off. I do have knives that I could use, other tools I can use to cut that stuff off. Just don't have it at my table at the moment. Okay, so this would be like working on the medium-sized forms, is getting the structure a little bit closer to what I really want it to look like. Come over here and do this one. So I made up 1, 2, so 1, 2, and this one comes out this way somewhere. So I'm just taking a little bit of that off. Sometimes it helps to use both hands to get things to be a little bit more symmetrical and whatnot. So anyways, that is a brief rundown on how you would start something like this. You can attach things to it, you can carve things out of it, you can push in to do different things like that. When you are working on this, if you take a break and you're working and you need to stop for a little while, you want to make sure maybe spray some water on it. If you have like a spray bottle, squirt bottle, do that. And then you want to make sure that you cover this really tightly. If you need more than one bag, use more than one bag. and cover it really, really tight like that so that there isn't a bunch of air getting to this. Also, while you're working on it, if you have clay next to you, make sure that this is in a bag so that this doesn't dry out on you. So that is the rundown of how you would start your clay totem sculpture.